Hello guys, welcome back to the gayuias&tech powered Dairy Cloud Solutions. We are into the day for the continuation of the conditional statements where we have left out we have discussed about the theory part. Now we are going to the real-time scenarios and case studies and task. How the task was assigned here. So now let's see here the one of the scenarios getting to the rough is mark a even and odd scenario. It is a marking of an even and odd scenario. That is for audit logs. Tag every transaction ID as an even or odd. Here, the scenario is for audit flags. Tag every transaction ID as an even or odd. Here is a task was a even transaction or odd transaction was a task here based on the IDs. Now, based upon this, we are going to write a code here. Here, what was the task here? The task was the even transactions or odd transactions based upon the IDs for the audit logs. So here I am giving the variable as transaction ID. The caps lock now here transaction ID as 1 or 5. I'm asking the value as 1 or 5 here. Now I'm going to write the if condition. If transaction, let me copy and paste this one transaction ID. For even condition, we have to use the percentage 2 equals to 0. That is percentage for the even condition, percentage 2 equals to 0. But when it is divided by 2, the quotient should be the 0. That was the condition for the even. Now, print even transactions. Print even transaction. Or else it's print or the transaction. Or else print or this is the scenario. And for this requirement, for this scenario, we have dropped a code like condition equals condition. Now let's run this code and see the output what we are doing. What the output is operation. Here I'm giving it as 88. Let's see the output. Even transactions. This is a scenario. Might be the interview question for the questions, or even experienced candidates also can expect like this type of questions, like scenario based questions. All these the scenarios I have taken from the geeks for the geeks. So from there onwards, I have converted these problems into a scenario based questions. And integrated this into a smart banking real-time scenario, real-time project. So that's to make you an account. So that's why I have converted into this problem statements into a real-based solution. You want to, you are only on topic-wise problem statements. You can go and check like in a week for this, and there you can see. We'll go to the second scenario. The scenario here is check the status. Status. You have to check the status. One of the scenario is to check the status, and to check the status here the task. So here the status was the bring the status based on the account balance. Account balance based upon the account balance, we have to print the status. And here the task was the if balance is zero, mark it as inactive or else active. Here once again I'm repeating the task. Here the task is if the balance is zero, if the balance is zero, mark it as inactive or else it is an active. Here the challenge is don't mark the dormant accounts as an active. Here, one of the challenge here we are getting is that don't mark the dormant accounts as an active. So to check this, and we have to write this. Not this, I'm going to write an experiment. Like once again, here I'm writing, I'm giving the variable as balance. What's zero? That's it. Balance equals to zero condition. Then we have to print echo status as echo status as 9, right? Currents print else win this is a condition. Let's see what the echo status is inactive. Why? Because here the balance is zero. Fine. So here the task is if the balance is zero, mark it as inactive or else that active. So there the scenario is to bring the status based upon the echo balance. So this is a one of the scenario. And the third scenario was the cat and hat scenario, where we are going to see the scenarios here. Here the scenario was every third customer wearing a cap gets a free wallet activation. Here the scenario was every third customer wearing a cap gets a free wallet activation. Here the scenario is like this, and the task on this scenario is return the loan with the maximum amount. Return the loan with the maximum amount. Here, here the task was return the loan with the maximum amount. And the challenge is we are facing here is all amounts may be any equal, right? So for this, I'm writing an code here. What was the scenario? Compare three low. Sorry, on this one, we are going to do this. Here the scenario is every third customer wearing a cap gets a free wallet activation. And the task over the scenario is if customer number is visible by T, grant bonus or else grant bonus. And the challenge we face here is just keep the customer that is zero to avoid the division errors. Okay, here the scenario, here the task is the customer number is divisible by 3. Grant the bonus. Now I read the customer number. Customer number. So in a see here the car, here the bank is organized like what we say like an activation like wallet free wallet activation process like in a lottery systems. So that's why here the Rahul got in a scenario like every third customer wearing a cap gets a free wallet activations, and the task over that is if the customer number is divisible by 3. Here the customer number variable was the customer number, and assigning to that number is an giving dash 50. Now let's see. Now see the condition. If customer number percentage 3 equals to 0, and here I'm using the operators. Customer and customer number not equals to 0. Then print then the print valid activated for add customer add customer. Now, here the Rahul wrote this code and wants to execute this code, this scenario. Now let's see what the code will see. Valid activated for add customer. Here we have for this scenario we have used like what we have used in the concept here, the condition concept we are using here as a ternary concept. The ternary statement we have used here. This is one of the scenario. We can write like this. One of like interviewer can ask like I want to print. I want to write a condition in single line. So this is a task. Like the customer number is given by we get the he gets the bonus. So write this. It is called in a single line. Customer might be ask like interviewer might ask you questions like this also. So please have a look on this and please be prepared on that. And thus fourth one, let's go to the fourth scenario. Here, the scenario is the fourth scenario is the greatest of three. So here the scenario for the fourth one is the fourth scenario is greatest of three. Greatest of this. Now, here the scenario is the scenario code. So compare three loan application to find the highest one. Here the scenario is to compare three loan applications to find the highest. And the task on the scenario with the task we got is return the loan the maximum. We have to return the loan the maximum. Here the challenge is again challenge like all amounts may be unequal. If you are if all the amounts are equal, then what will do? Let's think of this. Now I'm writing a code for this scenario. Here, the task for the round is to return the load with the maximum amount. Here I'm giving the variable c, comma c equals to 45,000 a, comma 67,000 for b, comma 54,000 for c. Now I'm giving the value. Now I'm writing the conditions. If A is greater than or equals to B, comma, sorry, and B is greater than or equals to C, not B, A. C, then print highest loan amount. Yes, print everything. Highest uh, or else here one more conditions are not. So that's why I'm using if conditions. If B is greater than or equals to A, greater than or equals to A, and B is greater than or equals to C, then print highest, highest, low amount of brackets B, right? Right? But the last I'm having the else conditions. Yes, condition. Print Same, I'm copying here. Let's share this here. One. Yeah, let's see. Yes. Now, I'm going to run this. Let's see what is the output. See, the highest loan among that is 67,000. That is the B. Highest loan amount is B. Right? Now, here I'm giving that for A as A, AB 5,000. Now, see, what would be the condition here? By seeing the values, we can recognize, but the interview will check how your logical thinking and how you are writing the code is a main important in the interview. So please check this one. By seeing the values, everyone can say that. But in the Python, how you are thinking, how you are going to write these conditions. That's what the interviewer is going to observe. So that's why I'm taking this scenario. Okay. Now I'm going to run this. See, the youngest square amount is 85,000. Right? This is one of the scenario. And now, fifth one. Coming to the fifth scenario. Here is the closest value. The fifth scenario is the closest number, and the scenario here is the simulate dice roll for lucky draw. Here, the bank was going to organize a draw, lucky draw. So here there are work and a task like if user gets a 6, he will going to be a prize. That is a task for the law to design here. Here the challenge here the random value is between the 1 to 6. The random values must get only 1 to 6, not greater than that. So for based on that, you have to write the code. Okay, right? Once again, I'm going to is here here the sixth scenario is the dice problem where simulate the dice roll for the lucky draw. Here I forgot to discuss about the fifth one, so forget it about it. After discussing of the sixth one, I'm going to discuss the fifth one. So don't worry. Here, the scenario of this Rahul was simulated dice roll for lucky draw. Organizing the bank is going to organize a lucky draw, and the task was here. If the user gets a 6, he is going to win a prize. Okay, here the challenge is only the random values between the 1 to 6, not greater than that. So, for based upon these scenarios and tasks got to the Rahu, we are going to find for this. Here, whatever the condition, which condition we are going to use here, we are going to use if-else conditions, right? So, I'm giving here, I'm giving the variable name as so dice we are going to roll. That's why the variable name is a roll and assigning the value as 6. Right? For 6 here, 6 is the mark number. Already they have given. For those who are getting the 6, they will the price. So that's why I'm giving the 6. Okay. Now I'm writing the condition. If roll equals to 6, then print, print, congrats, you won again. Right? Or else condition else print try let's see congrats here. Now I'm going to change like I'm giving 4. Let's see what we are getting the try again. Now I'm going to give above more than 6. So let's see what we are going to get. I'm giving the dice as 9. I what we are going to get, we are going to get the try again. Because we are only the role condition. Yeah, the role condition will be only the role condition. The variable we are assigned as 6 only. It was a fixed. We are doing the above than that or below than that will be getting the try again. Only else block will be ready, be executed. So This is the concept over here. And now let's go and see the fifth one, the closest number. Scenario where is the closest number. Here the scenario is find the closest interest rate offered. Here the closest interest rate offered to the customer. The scenario is to the closest interest rate offered to the customer. The task was given two options. Print closer to the 7%. Here you have to print the interest rate closer to the 7%. So I'm writing here the code that is. Now here I'm giving the values here amount different and the values slightly set values to the variables. One term is the 6.8 and the other is 7.7. Variables. Okay, now the target. Here the target rate of interest was 7%. So target I am giving the 7 fixed value 7%. For this I am going to write the condition. Okay, here I am writing here as apps operator A minus target. A minus target is less than apps B minus target. This is the condition. See here scenario is find the closest interest rate offered by the bank to the customer. So that's why we check and the given two options rate closer to the 7%. Here the task is we have to put rate which is closer to the 7. So I have fixed the interest rate that is at the 7% because already the already the requirement for to the bank was we have to print the interest rate which one is closer to the 7. That's why I have given here 7%. So the 7%. This is the one of the target. Now I'm going to print. String. First to print. Closer rate. Colon. Brackets, curly brackets. Use the variable name as A. Here, or else here is wait. String as closer rate. Colon. Curly brackets. Now execute this scenario. What we are going to closest to the here we are going to string number plus here we are out of all this one. Now run this. See, the closer rate is 7 point. Right? Here we are going to pick the closer rate, which is at 7.2. Right? Giving here as 7.6. Let's see what we are going to. The closer one is 6.8. Right? Now, coming to the 7th one, which is scenario 7, factorial based factorial. See, this is one of the important question. I have seen so many interviews are asking about this point number, like a scenario 8 and the scenario 7 factorial numbers. Fine. For the freshers and also like up to 2 years of experience candidates, only the Python they are asking here. So we please make a note of this one. I'm going to explain about the factorial question. Factorial. Here, the scenario about the factorial is Smart 360 Bank wants to generate n factorial that is based on one-time password variance for advanced two-factor authentication. For advanced two-factor for the one-time password variance for two-factor authentication, they are asking for the factorial. So here the Rahul got the assignment like that. Here the Rahul's assignment task was Rahul must implement the factorial generator. Here the Rahul must implement the factorial generator. So here for this one we are going, let me take one concept. So here the scenario is a Smart 360 bank wants to generate n factorial based on the one-time password variance for advanced two-factor authentication. Here, so for this, the Rahul's task was must implement a factorial generator. Here, I'm giving the value variable n is equal to assigning the value as an file. For this, I'm writing that as fact equals to one. Now, conditions. If n is less than 0, then print factorial not defined for negative numbers. Okay? Else, negative. Else, then write like this. Else condition for here I'm using the for condition. Don't worry, I will explain the structure. Don't worry. Let's see the code and understand how it is. For I in range, I in range. That is one. That is one. Comma n plus one. Over fact. Here the fact is factorial is common. So we get to the star. That is not one. Is an I. Right? And three. Three. So here, how the lead ranking starts. And please, right. Now I'm going to transition. See, we are getting the error here. Why we are getting the error? Here we have to give n equals to, but we have given comma by mistake. So n is greater than 0. Only for the natural numbers, not for the whole numbers. See, again we got an error here. Why? Because we got an error here. Here the spelling mistake. I have given the same mistake. This fine. The factorial of height is right. Now this is the why we got here, but the 5 factorial around get the 120. But we got here it as an fact. Why we got here the fact was we are deriving this one, this value, factorial value. This value should fit here. So in order to fit that one, we have to start, we have the curly brackets to this one. So curly brackets. Now I'm going to see the factorial of 5 is 1. Let's say, for example, I'm giving here it as 8. Now let's check the output. The 8 factorial is 40320. Right? Now I'm giving it as just 6. Now that is 7. Now I'm taking it as 0. Let's see what I'm going to do. 3 factorial is 1. If I'm giving -1, -1, then let's see what we do. Factorial non-defined but negative. This is a condition. This is the factorial method. That is the scenario is smart history banks want to generate n factorial based on one-time passwords, which for the one-time passwords. They want to generate a one-time passwords multiple like infinity types of an thing like that. Maybe number of passwords for the advanced two factors. So, that in order to get that, you have to use the factorial method here. So, in order to get the factorial method, how you have to think to write the code in Python. So, that was the main thing the interviewer going to ask you like this, that we will going to check the how your coding methodology, how your thoughts are going, and these scenarios, and how you are going to run. That's also main. How it is the now the eighth scenario is the tectonic switch. Tectonic the eighth one we are going to discuss the tectonic. Here the scenario is that bank encrypts valid numbers using the tectonic sequence serial. Here the scenario is the bank encrypts valid numbers using the noise sequence. Here the task is to bring the noise series up to n turns. Here the Rambus scenario tells the task was bring the noise series up to the n turns. So what is how we are going to write that? See, let's n equals I'm giving the value n name has a and the same value is 7. Now the another another variable is a comma that is for these variables I'm going to assign 0, 1 values. Now I'm going to take the print. Now I print on sequence. Alright, so by using the concept of if by using the loop undo and the for understood in range, here the range and and print here comma and equals to the same value. Okay, now I'm giving a comma b equals to b comma a plus b. Let's see what the output is going. Here we are getting so we are giving a space. Expand this one. See the Pipron sequence is 0, 1. This is the one of the scenario here. Like here, but how does smart banking here in the banking sectors, how the number is used for the bank encrypts a valid. So here in order to encrypt the valid numbers, here we are going to use the Fibonacci sequence method. So this is one of the scenario case. See, we are in the financial sector or banking sector, in order to the any of the tool like message encryption or any personal encryption, information encryption. we are going to use this time sequence. This is one of the scenario, right? So I'm giving the practice work session also. There are a lot of scenarios, tasks, and challenges in interview questions, practice abilities, as I mentioned in the previous years also. So let's practice those questions. And meanwhile, for the same concept, if conditional statements, I have given the another like practice section in another domain, which is in a manufacturing sector. That one also I'm going to provide you. Please practice this two sessions so you can improve your Python skills. So that's it for today. Thank you so much. We are going to discuss the date for tomorrow. Looks concept. So please be available on time. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.